Well, howdy there, guys. Looks like I overslept. I haven't seen you in a year. Well, looky here. If it ain't just your favorite girl in the world looking a little bit rough and tussled. I looked really refined when I started this, and then I did about 30 minutes of insane intros that I hated. They all came out terrible. This is where I am now. Long time no see, right? It's been a minute. It's been a whole year. How's 2025 treating everybody? Is it treating you like a ripe slap to the buttocks? I hope so. I hope it's got a spark in your step. The world is your pancake and you are the syrup, baby. Take from that what you will. What are we drinking? What else would we be drinking? We're drinking champagne, of course. We're gonna fill the Nile with champagne. Fill denial with champagne. Denial is a river. Dochi. You guys remember that though? Death on the Nile. Gal Gadot presenting probably the definitive line reading of our generation, to be honest with you. Gonna fill the Nile with champagne. I have to say, so many movies that have been made in the past 10 years and more have a distinct lack of horniness, which is really unsettling to me as a real lover, true yearner, true longer. Death on the Nile, though, not one of those movies. It was needlessly horny. It was so horny. And for why? Gal Gadot and Army Hammer. Like, let's talk about that for a little bit, but let's not. Let's move past it. Feeling each other up and like bumping and grinding on, what is that called? The tomb in Egypt. You know what I'm talking about. They moved it across the Nile. Abu Simbel Timbo. Them getting frisky on this tomb shoulder in front of everybody. Everybody and their grandma and all the crocodiles in the river can see. And then someone's trying to kill them, as they should. Have some class. Just a suboptimal place to get freaky, to be honest. You need some good even ground, okay? Preferably not a 30-foot drop off directly to your left as well. I'm gonna call me crazy. I don't think those are optimal getting it on, places. Maybe I'm just not freaky enough. I don't know. How did I get on that? How was your 2025? Did you enjoy the way that I had us all started off? That was fun, right? Did you enjoy my Christmas presents as well? Those were fun little gifts, weren't they? If you haven't checked out the outtakes, what are you doing? Check them out. They're really fun. It was a good time. Anyways, Christmas, I had a wonderful Christmas. My little sister, Anna, everybody shout out Anna. She came and see me. She saw me. We had Christmas together. I stayed up till 5:30 in the morning, Christmas Day, editing, and woke up at 8:30 in the morning because my downstairs neighbor's kids were screaming, as they should, on Christmas. I'm not saying that they shouldn't do that. It was my fault for staying up as late as I did. So yeah, I got a nice 3 hours of sleep, and we just ate a whole pack of bacon, burnt half of it. It's fine. Bacon's delicious, crispy, and black anyways, so who cares? We had like a whole pound of sausage. We had 5 biscuits, half a dozen eggs, and a liter and a half of mimosas. Honestly, an optimal day. That's how I should spend every single day. Every day should be Christmas in this house. New Year's. What did you guys do for New Year's? I looked at my schedule. I saw that I had New Year's Eve off. Gasp. What? Gasp. What? It was unbelievable. I always work the day before holidays because everyone else requests them off. Shut up. No one wants to hear a car that loud. You're not getting any bitches with that, all right? It's a bitch rejector. I asked my friends in town what they were doing. Oh, probably just staying home. Lame. So I texted my buddy Sydney up in Denver, and I said, hey, do you have plans for New Year's Eve? Mine, if I don't make any, are going to be staying at home alone in my apartment and crying because the passage of time truly upsets me and sends me into an existential crisis. And my friend Sydney said, OMG, same. I'm not doing anything. We should hang out. So I went up to Denver, went to a gay bar. It's the last night that they were open before moving locations. So that was kind of pretty amazing. A unique vibe definitely in the atmosphere. We did pickle shots for Jacob at the end of the night. So we went upstairs because there was a bar upstairs. And lo and behold, no one's up there. It's an empty house. There's no one behind the bar. And they have a dispenser filled with pickle shots, just waiting for someone to go over there and just help themselves to it. So naturally, I do that. I put my glass underneath it. I turn the lever. She fills that bitch up, okay? She's going to Pickletown. Hey! I hear a voice say behind me, oh my God, it's the bartender coming in from outside. I've been caught in the floodlights. I'll pay for it, I say. He says, no, I don't give a fuck, actually. It's my last night here. So I got the whole glass of pickle shots. Plus, we ended up hanging out with him. He gave us 2 more shots on the house. So I went to bed at like 6:30 on New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day, I guess, and woke up at 9:30. Yet another day of 3 hours of sleep. It was fantastic. And then I got to drive home, which is like a 2-hour drive. Turn up. Can I just say, though, big complaint, huge complaint. If you are the DJ at a gay bar, what are you doing playing mid-2000s Sean Paul at the gay bar? I just want to know. If you look out at the gay bar and see nobody moving on the dance floor, I mean, check yourself. Go home and just really kind of do some introspection and figure out what led you to this point in your life. You're at a gay bar, okay? It would take a rat rattling around in the gutters to get the people moving and bouncing and jumping and dancing, okay? The fact that it's Dirt Bowl 1930s Depression era out there on the dance floor, honey, let's rethink a few things and maybe just hand the aux cord over to anybody else on that dance floor, because they'll have you covered, all right? All right. How many of y'all bitches saw Nosferatu? Yeah, all of you? I know. Here's the deal. Is it a good movie? Yes. Is it great even? Perhaps. Was it everything that I had hoped it would be? No, I'm sad to say it was not. Very worthwhile movie. I'm glad that I went and saw it. I do look forward to it coming out on streaming and me being able to watch it again. I in no way feel the movie wasn't well done. However, I just found myself finding it lacking overall. I wanted more from everything in the movie. Specifically, I think biggest qualm, Orlok. Orlok was not it for me. I think overall, the look was off. Because the thing with Nosferatu, specifically doing Nosferatu, not Dracula, Nosferatu, is Count Orlok. His look, everything else pretty much is the same. It's Dracula. Yeah, they tweaked a couple of things, but it's Dracula. So why do Nosferatu and not Dracula if you're not going to have Count Orlok look like Count Orlok and be like Count Orlok? The veil's gone. I wanted him to look like a freak, okay? I wanted him to look like a scary little monster, and he didn't. He looked overall, until he had his clothes off, pretty normal, Sure. He was freaky, again, with his clothes off. But how often did we see that? 3 times? 3 times? We did get vampire dong, which I was very thrilled about. Love a good dong shot. Which, I don't know, I could see what they're going for with Orlok. And I guess with, the body horror of the disfigurements, it's almost like scar tissue and pustules. And the wheezing and everything was almost like he's an eternal creature who's maybe I got the idea from it that's not protected him from all the sicknesses and disease and everything throughout life. He's still contracted it. He's still succumbed to these horrible parts of being alive and being human. But had to endure. He can't die from it. Which, I guess is interesting if you want to delve into that more. I don't know. I think with where they left it, we just didn't get enough of anything. We didn't get enough lore, backstory from him or from his relationship with Mina. Mina, what's her name? Ellen. Again, it's Dracula. I'm like, Sam, Mina. But yeah, I think overall for me, it kind of made him like the wheezing. To me, it made him seem mortal and killable and not as imposing or intimidating. Like, why can't we just put a knife through his heart and get rid of him? You never, at least I never got the sense that he was necessarily something to be feared, you know? I don't think they did enough to create monstrosity from him. Like, sure, okay, fine, he comes and will possess Helen and has this obsession with Helen. But even when he comes to Wismar, is that what the town was called? It's mainly like, yeah, he brings the rats. But it's mainly the rats that are fucking up the town. I don't give a shit about that unless you're going to show me rats, like, over everything. Bodies in the streets, covered in rats. Them eating away at the corpses. Like, I want to be disgusted. I want to be horrified. I want to be chilled to the bone. And I don't think I ever really got to that point with this movie, which maybe I went into it with too high of expectations, because I do really, really love and appreciate Robert Eggers as a filmmaker, and his previous 3 movies I think is fantastic. And obviously, I maybe or maybe not like vampires a little bit. Maybe my expectations were just misplaced. I was expecting the wrong things. I was expecting Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula, but with Robert Eggers' kind of influence on it all, which is not the tale that we got. So I'm not going to say that it's necessarily a fault on his part. But again, I think maybe I'm not necessarily wrong for wanting more from it, because it is a vampire tale. So as I was saying, when Count Orlok comes to Wismar, the havoc that's being struck on the town is mainly through the rats and through the plague. I want to see Orlok terrorizing the town. I want to see him sinking those teeth into people's throats, ripping them apart. The scene where, what's her name? Anna. She hears the kid screaming, and her husband is dead asleep, so she runs after him, and she opens the door, and you see him drop the little girls' bodies. Horrifying. Terrible. I'm not saying more movies should kill kids. It's a very tough line. You have to really make it work and make it worthwhile. But that was something that I was like, oh, that's fucked up. That's so fucked up. This mother coming in, and oh my God, there's a man killing her 2 children in front of her. Not a man, a monster. They were only I wanted more scenes like that. I wanted the whole movie to be deeply wrong and make me deeply unsettled, you know? Like, it was very restrained. I felt like it was too restrained. The movie was too restrained. And I think part of that was due to trying to reflect the restraint within the Victorian times and of the era. But overall, it didn't quite do it for me. I just never got the feeling like Orlok was that much of a threat. And as such, you need that threat for the whole tale of seduction to work in there. And I think with Ellen too, I've been kind of confused in watching some of the little interview clips about like the love story between Ellen and Orlok. Because she very much seems to be not about it. You know, even when she finally does give herself up to Orlok, when they do go to the bed, you do get that sense of, okay, so there is some pleasure here to this. But overall, most of the movie, you don't get a sense that this is pleasurable for Ellen, and that this is a temptation on her part, that she's being tempted by Orlok. I got more the impression that it was more an unwilling possession. You know, even the scene where she's, you know, confessing to Thomas and she's convulsing and her eyes go back in her head and her tongue comes out. Fantastic performance, by the way. The performances in the movie are fantastic. Nicholas Hoult And his heaving bosom, oh my God, star of the show. Put that man in everything. I've been such a fangirl for Nicholas Hoult since Warm Bodies. Anything he's in, I'm there. I'm there. Watch The Great right now. But that scene, and she says, you can never satisfy me like he does. It's not her, or at least that's what I got from the movie. It seemed the possession, like she was being taken over. It wasn't her who was speaking in that moment. Going kind of back to Bram Stoker's Dracula, which in that movie they established a very kind of more real backstory between Mina and Dracula. Like she's kind of the reincarnated Dracula's past love. So you have a little bit more understanding for what this odd connection between them is. But you see her really fighting to not fall for him. And ultimately in that movie, she does. She kills him. Mainly because she does love him and she does fall for him. And I didn't get that sense of seduction happening in the movie. That was lacking for me. That was lacking. I didn't get the romance. Honestly, over everything else, I think I got more of the romance between Ellen and Thomas. I do think it is very much kind of like a love triangle movie, and a true triangle, because I think probably the most erotic scene in the movie was Count Orlok latching on to Thomas. That scene where they're levitating, everybody wants to be them, can I just say, but where they're levitating and it's just on Thomas's face, and you do get a sense of like the pleasure and the pain, the ecstasy and the fear of it all. I was like, oh, okay, so this is the type of monster that Orlok is. I'm into it. And then that harsh cut directly from that to Orlok crouching over Thomas, drinking from him, that horrible glug, glug sound, the way that his body like moves and kind of gyrates over him. It's very sexual, but also predatory and gross and off-putting, but entrancing. That I was all into. He was monstrous, That sound, the sound of the blood flowing into Orlok's stomach, because you can hear that he's full, but he continues to drink. It's about the gluttony. It's about the consumption, overconsumption, fulfilling desire. I got it from that scene, and I just did not get it through the rest of the movie because we barely saw Orlok. He was barely in the movie. Why? He was kept to the shadows, which initially I thought it was going to be because most of his stuff, they were going to do a lot more with shadow, We were going to have a lot more play with light and everything, to where you get the sense that he's ephemeral. He's not bound to his physical body, which they have those tiny glimpses of. But overall, I wanted more shadows. I wanted more creeping and him controlling things without really being there. And we didn't see a whole lot of that. We just did not get enough Orlok in the movie. In the very beginning, his shadow is on the billowing curtains, and then it's gone, and her possession and everything. And then we have the shot at the end of the movie with the hand going over the town. That was amazing. It was beautiful. And the lights going out wherever the shadow plays over. That was phenomenal. I wanted that throughout the entire movie. Again, when he comes over, why was it mainly just the rats terrorizing the town? I wanted to see him and his shadows and more things that he was doing, terrorizing the town. And I don't think that the backstory necessarily between him and Ellen worked. Like I said, I did not feel the love story between Ellen and Orlok. And I know Orlok was like, I cannot love. I only need to be sated. And even that, which I know there are different ways to express longing. But even when you watch the original Nosferatu and the 1979 Nosferatu, especially the 1979 Nosferatu, I think that version of Count Orlok is played so geniusly because you can tell he's so consumed with loneliness and with the endurance of time. That endurance has made him into this creature that he is. And when Jonathan comes to visit him at the castle to get him to sign the deed and everything like that, he won't leave him alone, you know? He's there. He wants to sit with him. He wants to talk with him and give weird googly eyes to him. And when he cuts his thumb, suck the blood from it and be too intimate. And it's very unsettling, but you very much understand the pathos of the character, you know? He's almost pathetic in how desperate he is to have Jonathan there. And then when he does go to Wismar and he learns of Mina, you know, from the lock of hair and everything, he even has a line where he's like, I wish that I could be a part of you and Jonathan's love. Like, he wants to insert himself in there. I think that was a good expression of the love triangle, because you do get just how desperate he is to have something to break up the futility of his life. And he sees that within what Jonathan and Mina have together. It's tragic, you know? So in the 1979 version, when he comes to Wismar, and he unleashes the rats upon the town, and he's there and everybody's dying, it's because all he knows how to bring is death. That's who he is. But in his journey here, he's searching for something other than that. Whereas I think part of the allure of vampires is that they're the monsters who are most reflective of humans, and, you know, the hidden parts of ourselves that we don't want to necessarily examine, but are very much there and present, because they have, well, they don't have souls in a lot of tellings, but they had them. And it's that soul that they long for again. And I think a lot of us resonate with that, because ultimately their story is about wanting to fulfill your innermost desires, and wanting to have eternal companionship, and wanting to connect and like absorb another person's soul. I think a lot of us can connect with that because of the loneliness that we feel in our day-to-day lives and everything. And yeah, you know, it just didn't come off. I didn't really understand Orlok's motivations and what he was doing. And not that everything needs like overblown, really deep, in-depth characterization and stuff, but to me, he just came off as like big bad, you know, without much else to him, which was disappointing, because as I've said at length, I think vampires present a lot more complexity. I'm not saying that I necessarily want Count Orlok or Dracula to be a gray moral character. Like, they can be all out bad. And I think in the 1979 version, I mean, Count Orlok is still very much an evil, monstrous character. But like I said, he has pathos. And I feel something for him when I watch the movie. I mean, I think, honestly, that's one of the faults of Bram Stoker's Dracula, Francis Ford Coppola's version. Dracula was too double-faced. He was this deep lover boy who's changed because of his great depth of love for Mina. He curses God for allowing her to die, and that's what's turned him into a vampire. And when he sees her again, oh, he's in love with her. He's a tender creature. But then also we're like shown how horrific he is to her best friend, and I see kind of what they were going for there, but he's like two completely different characters. He's Dracula the monster, but then also Dracula the lover boy, and I don't think they did enough to bridge the two. It was two very, very different continents to each other to make his character seem holistic. And I will say, I know I'm referencing the 1979 Nosferatu a lot. I still think that this Nosferatu is better, a movie overall. Like I said, I think it's still a very good movie. It's, you know, when you have that student in class who's a really, really high achiever and a high performer, and you make a project that you think, oh, this fits all of their skills and acumen so well. This is gonna blow my fucking socks off. And then you get there and it's B+ work, but it's not that 100+ extra credit that you were expecting. That's the vibe. And I think it did a good job of building tension, but the tension, we would have those moments and it wouldn't build from there. There were only maybe 3 moments where I was kind of holding my breath. Most of the time, I was just watching what was happening on screen. And I think, too, just overall, the movie itself was a little bit the performances were really phenomenal, but like the cinematography itself was a little bit too stilted. And there were multiple moments where I felt like we needed to get in closer. I wanted more intimacy with the characters and what was happening on scene. Like the scene where Ellen is asking Friedrich, that's his name, Friedrich, why he doesn't like her. Or when the doctors are talking to Friedrich about Ellen and trying to say there's a vampire, and he's like, please just get out of my house. It was all very still and contained. And there were a couple of more scenes that I can't quite think of off the top of my head, since it has been a week since I watched the movie, where I just wish we were closer and kind of maybe handheld and more in it, so I could have a more visceral feeling of what these characters are feeling right now. It's kind of like, I understand where they're coming from, because I think the whole idea was about corsets and Victorian standards of living and everything like that. So everything is very smooth and very polished and restricted and refined. So I think that's kind of the feeling that they were trying to evoke with the camera work too, but it all felt very observatory and not like we were in it with them. And I wanted to be in it, you know? It's all about sharing blood and the intimacy and passing of blood. And I want to be inside their blood, you know? Maybe I'm too much of like a vampire freak. What was I watching last night? Submarine. Haven't watched it. It's a fantastic coming of age movie. The main character has this little love letter that he writes to his little boo thing, where he says something along the lines of, I love you so much. I want to be inside you. I want to drink your blood. And I was like, oh, that is so real. You're so my little guy. I got more vampire intimacy from Submarine than Nosferatu 2024. Shame. But again, I have to go back and sing the praises of Nicholas Hoult, because I think the best part of the movie is when Thomas does go to Transylvania, and I think that scene where he wakes up and, you know, sees the Romani people, I think, with the Virgin on the horse and everything, and that. What the fuck was that? That was a vampire, right? Because it was puking up blood when they put the stake through its heart. Freaked me out. But he wakes up. Was it real? But he has mud on his shoes. Was it real? We don't know. And then him going into the woods. Someone's stolen his horse. He has to go on foot. And what's this? The carriage comes for him and takes him to Orlok's castle. And the whole dinner scene. And I love the reference when he cuts his thumb on the knife, that close-up of Orlok's eyes. It's like a shot-for-shot remake, essentially, of the F.W. Murnau version. And it's so iconic. It's so iconic, it made it into Interview with the Vampire, right? His nerves the whole time. It's very obvious he does not want to be there. And when he's running out to the courtyard and none of the doors are opening, he's trapped. He's locked in there. And then he comes across the sarcophagus and he opens it up and the light changes behind him right as he's about to drive the pickaxe into Orlok's heart. Orlok grabs it and throws him aside, and he comes up and he's naked and his vampire dong is hanging all out, and somebody in the theater laughed when that happened, and I'm like, you child, you immature little baby. What, is he gonna have a fucking loincloth like Jesus on the cross? No, he's not Jesus. He's Orlok. All right, how much more intimidating is that? How much more intimidating is that? How many of you people have thought to yourself, if anyone ever breaks into my apartment, I'm coming out nude as hell, because that'll throw them off. That'll freak them out. What's freakier than someone coming at you, running, screaming, naked, and the hellhounds come and he runs, and then Orlok gets them and levitating and glug glug, and then was that? No. I think that's when he goes into the room and then he falls into the river and everything. I'm getting things mixed up. Again, I watched this a week ago. I did write notes that I've not looked at all. I wrote them down on paper. Talk about Victorian bitch here, all right? Cursive and everything. Call up a second grader right now. Bet you they can't read that. All right, that's hieroglyphs to them. I can't remember what it was, but there's one shot where it's golden light over Nicholas's face, but you can't see his eyes and his fucking cheekbones. I mean, have any cheekbones ever been more marble sculpted than his? Maybe Colin Morgan's. That's like his only competition out there, really. The dark-haired white boy cheekbone championship. Colin Morgan versus Nicholas Hoult. Who's gonna win? Nicholas Hoult, I'll die for you. I'll do it. Ask me to. I'll do it. Speaking of dying, though. Okay, Orlok's death. It was just a moment where I wanted more. And I thought, like, the timing was strange in the movie, too. Because we have Orlok leave to go to Wismar. I keep saying Wismar. Is it Wismar? I should look it up, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna stand by my incorrectness if I am incorrect. Orlok, sets out immediately to Wismar. Whereas Thomas falls into the river. He has to be nursed back to health by the nuns, almost health. And then he sets off on the horse. And he makes it there first. How? And then, the end where Thomas is running back through town. But Orlok then comes to Ellen. And she's like, okay, come on, let's go. And he's feeding on her. But then we see, Thomas running. And then we cut back to Orlok feeding on her still. And you can't, I didn't get the idea that a whole lot of time had passed since then. But then the sun is coming up. And he's dead. I thought it was going to be is this not Monster Fucker Central? Are vampires not the Monster Fucker, storyline? I thought we were going to have monster fucking, all of it, full on. He lies Ellen down on the bed. He goes down. He kisses her. She's like, ugh. Where was the monster fucking scene? I don't know. I got caught up on the monster fucking and forgot to follow up on the point that I was making with that was I thought that we were going to get some monster fucking and that's what would eat up the time until the sun came up. But otherwise, no. No. Fine. They don't have to fuck, but maybe drinking all over from her and we see her slowly dying or whatever, slowly turning. But then the sun is coming up. And it makes it seem like he went to her 15 minutes before the sun came up. Why would he do that? Knowing that the sun was about to come up. I don't know. I just, I guess you could use the excuse that he was just lost in the sauce, But it just doesn't seem like there's that much blood to be drinking for hours and hours and hours in the same position for him to, when the sun does come up, turn and be like, oh shit. But it comes up and the blood through the eyes and the ears and the nose and the mouth. I was like, yes. All right. Yeah, finally, we're going to end this movie on some gross shit. And then he just fell down on top of her body. I thought that he was going to maybe fall over and then blood's leaching out of him onto her. I think overall, I just wanted more from everything. I wanted more visuals. And again, I don't know that that's necessarily a fault of Robert Eggers that I wanted more. But I think when you have the two of them, I would go for Bram Stoker's Dracula because it's sumptuous. It's over the top. It's too much at some points, I will say. Yeah. But I think given vampire media, I would go for too much versus restraint. Because again, it's about indulgence. It's all about indulgence. So I just wanted more. More. Overall. I don't know if any of this was fully coherent. But is anything that I ever say fully coherent? Not really. So yeah. Those are my thoughts on Nosferatu. Anyways, hope you guys have just a jiffy 2025. I have to say, while I'm here, thank you very, very much for hanging out with me as much as you did in 2024. It was a fantastic year. Might say maybe, perhaps, I don't know, best year of my life? Yeah, we're going to go with best year of my life. And I owe it all, honestly, to any of you who are out there who watch my videos and left a comment on my videos, and did whatever needed to be done to get me on the right algorithms to be seen by Jacob Anderson, and then passed on to Roland Jones, and then get to do all the very cool things that I got to do in 2024, and will continue to do in 2025. So hang around. I'm just saying, it's going to be a great year. Okay? We're going to have a great time. And yeah, we'll see ya.